Hi, good evening. I'm Kaaren Hall, and I'm the founder of OCREIA, Orange County Real Estate Investors Association. And we've been meeting pretty much every Thursday, the second Thursday of every month since 2012, so a few years here. And we're bringing you the very finest in real estate investor information. We're not selling anything. We're not asking you to invest. What we're doing is teaching you about various aspects of real estate investment so that you can make a great decision.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Ballara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kaaren Hall, founder of OCREIA, Orange County Real Estate Investors Association, and also of UDirect IRA Services. And tonight at OCREIA, we've got Jason Ballara joining us. I'm really excited because a couple months ago, I was a guest on his podcast, so I really recognized this background you've got, Jason. And we had just the best talk, and afterwards I thought, this guy's got to be on OCREIA to bring his knowledge and information to us. And what's great about Jason, it's not just what he's learned from being a podcast host and gleaning information from so many other awesome real estate investors, but it's also the real estate work he's done himself in multifamily. But plus, like so many of us, he didn't start off being a real estate investor. He started off doing other things, which I know he'll tell you about, but it happens to include being a veterinary surgeon. So talk about making the logical transition from veterinary medicine to real estate, right? Am I right? So Jason, why don't you turn your mic on?
Thank you.
Get started here. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. I appreciate the invitation, and yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to everybody tonight. But yeah, thank you so much again, Kaaren, for having me here tonight. I'm very excited. I'll go into that whole background and how maybe the veterinary surgeon and the real estate thing actually make more sense than it might seem on the surface.
Is that
But
because you
I'll get
can
into
build a
that.
doghouse? Is that what you're
But
saying?
yeah, exactly. I can in fact build the doghouse. So yeah, it makes total sense. So I'll go through things. I put together a little bit of a slide presentation. I hope that this can be as interactive as possible. I'll leave time for questions and things like that at the end. So um, I'll go ahead and get started. So I'll talk a little bit about the secret to real estate investing, or at least what I think the secret is. I'll talk about, sort of my journey and how I have had effectively two careers that have run in parallel. I put together a little algorithm. I think as a doctor and people with science backgrounds might appreciate the look of an algorithm, and then sort of what my business model is going forward. So the secret really is that the path to financial freedom is actually pretty simple. It's not easy at all, but the steps that you need to take to get there are actually fairly simple. I think a lot of people get scared by some of the complexity or confused or whatever term you want to use, but I do think it is actually, once you break it down, not as complex as it may seem. So for me, Kaaren talked a little bit about my podcast. It is called Know Your Why. And the reason it's called that is because that's how sort of I developed my sense of where I wanted to go with my real estate career and life in general. So my hope with this talk, I think it would be impossible for me to teach you in an hour how to do any one specific piece of real estate investing, but I'll talk to you about what I do, what my path has been. I'll give you some of the how, and then I think it'll be really important that folks that are listening and watching, you have to determine your own why and what's going to push you forward to take the action that you need to. So, like I mentioned, really it's been a bit of a parallel pathway for me. So who am I? As Kaaren mentioned, I'm Jason Ballara. I've got some letters after my name. I am all of the things on this screen. I wish there was a lot more hair, but I am all of the things on this screen. I used to have hair, but the me now, I have this shot of me in a suit That's probably the least me that there is, but that's what I did when I started syndicating, and I was told you need to have a headshot and all of the appropriate things to present yourself. But probably the last time anyone on this call at least will see me in a suit. It's just not my preferred attire. The next headshot over is a little bit more recent, little more casual, but really what I am is a dad. Family super important to me. I am a veterinary surgeon. I haven't stopped practicing, so all of this kind of goes together, and I'm going to tie it together and talk to you about it. So there's a couple of things. This slide sort of demonstrates to me what's important. Family, fatherhood, future generations. You can call it legacy. You can call it whatever you want. But I think most important to me is that sort of picture of what family looks like, and I actually include sort of my investors in that. I look at my close friends as family, and I include investors as sort of the extended family. I'm a veterinary surgeon. I'm an advocate for veterinary mental health. On the last slide, you saw in the corner, not NOMV, NOMV is not one more vet. It's not well known, but there is a very high suicide rate in the veterinary community. I'll get into that a little bit further. I 100% believe in the power of real estate in terms of being able to establish financial freedom. But I think real estate really comes down to a business of relationships. I wouldn't be here without that relationship, connecting with Kaaren through my podcast. So there's just so much that comes out of it. And what I really see as sort of going forward is for me is creating impact, having a positive impact on my investors. And I put team here on purpose. There is no I in team, and I 100% can't do any of this without the people around me, and that includes in veterinary medicine and real estate. In no circumstance do I think this is solo trip. So Lark Capital Group, that's my real estate business. We founded in 2020. No relationship to the pandemic whatsoever. It was more about a stage in my life. My son was 1 year old. I was working all the time, on call a lot as a surgeon, and I just wanted to find something that I could be a more present father and family man. But we founded the company with another very good friend of mine, and he's a veterinarian as well. And essentially what we wanted to do is free up time in our lives and create a legacy for our family. Since then, Lark Capital Group has evolved to become an impact-driven real estate syndication firm and fund manager. So again, we'll talk a bit about what our business model is at this time. So like I said, I want to come into this with a sort of an algorithm of what a successful investor should look at. So syndication is my vehicle. That's how I like to, I guess, practice, if you will, real estate. But there are sort of an infinite number of ways to be successful within real estate itself. Syndication, for folks who don't know on this call, is essentially, I really like to simplify it, but basically what it is a partnering of people together to purchase an asset that's bigger than one person on their own may be able to purchase. I used to think that all of the apartment buildings, shopping malls, office buildings, all of that stuff you see out there that's very large, I thought, those must be purchased by one extremely rich person. And the fact is, it's actually the opposite. Usually, most of those things are purchased via syndication, and you can actually purchase literally anything through syndication. In fact, if you have Venmo, you can go on there, or even through I think some of the food delivery apps, but you can order food and have everybody link, and everybody's paying their piece. So that is not dissimilar to what a syndication actually is. Within that syndication, you're going to have two sides of the coin. You're going to have the operating team, and then you're going to have the investment team or the capital partners. And so the road to financial freedom through real estate to me starts with a question. Do you want to be an active investor, or do you want to be a passive investor? You can be both, but you have to recognize what the big differences are between them. So, as an active investor, specifically within syndication, you will have, it goes by a number of different names, but you have general partner, sponsor. I threw fund manager in there because a fund is the same thing as a syndication, just with um, inherent diversification within that fund. So same model, it's just you're buying multiple assets. On the passive investor side, you'll hear those referred to as limited partners or capital partners. I personally don't like the limited partner name at all. I think sometimes that implies not important, but in fact, the investors are hugely important to a syndication deal. And what limited really refers to is just the fact that you have limited or realistically, no liability in those deals. So that sort of brings us down to those pros and cons. And so on the active investor side, as an active investor, even within syndication or outside of syndication, other forms of real estate investing, you do have the potential for higher returns as an active investor. So the reason I say potential, I think that's important to mention, because you are, if you are bringing investors into this, you have the potential for higher returns. But if you've created a structure that puts the investor first, it's actually possible that you could have lower returns than your investors if a deal goes south. So the potential is there for higher returns, and certainly that's why people, in a lot of cases, that's why people do it. You also, another sort of upside, I guess, if you will, is a control, and you have that control through the asset management. Um, you'll notice I listed control through asset management as a con as well. Sometimes, sometimes people like to have control, and that's great if you do, that's no problem, but you have to understand what comes with that control. And what comes with it is a much higher level of risk, a much higher level of stress, and again, those higher returns are potential. So I was actually sort of talking through this with someone on the podcast the other day, and just saying, as a passive investor, the worst thing that you can lose is money. That's it. That's where that stops. As an active investor, you can lose money, sleep, your business. If you don't do things just right, you could be fined. You could, in theory, go to jail if you're not doing things according to SEC law. So the risk is significantly higher. And again, as a passive investor, the worst thing you can lose is money. The pros of being a passive investor are just that. You are passive. You don't have to do any of the work. I say it's mostly passive because you want to align yourself with a sponsor who you have shared values with, someone you trust, someone who you believe is going to be a good steward of your capital. That really applies in any passive investing situation, your 401k, your IRA, self-directed or otherwise. All of these things, people talk a lot about, when I talk to them about the potential of investing in a syndication, they say, okay, I'm going to go talk to my financial advisor. And I can't tell you the scary number of times they've come back to me and with misinformation. One of my investors, her financial advisor did not know what it meant to be an accredited investor. I am 100% fine with regular people, not knowing that information. But if you're a financial advisor, that's probably should be a top of the list of something that you understand. Um, So you do have to be careful about who you align yourselves with in any investment vehicle. But the pros in a real estate investment and syndication model is that you, as a limited partner, are still getting the same cash flow, the same appreciation, and the same tax benefits that you would get if you were one of the active partners. So all of that kind of gets passed over. I'm not a CPA. I will say those tax benefits are very specific to your individual situation. I've done a ton of digging in on that because of my own personal career as a surgeon and tying in real estate and how all that works together. But you definitely need to consult with your CPA and someone who's experienced with real estate, either if whether you're passive or active investing. And then the cons really are just that lack of control. So if you want control, then you really have to think about an active way to invest your capital. So as an investor, you need to have we all need to have some sort of active income. Unless you have won the lottery, come into some massive inheritance, the capital that you're going to invest has to come from somewhere. That may be from real estate, it may be from your W-2 job as a lawyer, business owner, doctor, whatever the case may be. Anything, it doesn't matter, but you're going to have to start with some sort of income coming in so that you can then go ahead and invest that. And then the goal is to transform your ratio of active income to passive income over time. So you get away from 100% active income and move towards whatever level of passive and active ratio you want it to be. You have to decide what that means for you. Some people don't want to stop working. I have no intention of ever stop working. I just want to be in control of how that looks. And I want work to be optional for me. I have two young kids. You saw the pictures. My oldest is 5 now. He started school this year. I now have to think about when we take time off. And my businesses at the moment might not be amenable to taking time off exactly when he's off from school. So the idea is over time to be able to say, hey, look, I don't want to do surgery this summer. I want to travel. I can do real estate while I travel. So it's about constructing your life in such a way that it fits the lifestyle that you and your family really aspire to. If you want to be an active investor, that's great. But now you have to decide, what's my niche? What is my specific vehicle within real estate that I'm going to choose to create my lifestyle? Again, look at it from a lifestyle standpoint. For me, it's syndication and fund management, but I started in real estate when I was a teenager, basically, because I started working in construction. I bought my own house as soon as I could possibly do that. And then I fixed it up myself. I started working for contractors and I continued that process. So I've been in real estate technically longer than I've been a vet. And I have only over these last 4 years decided that syndication was my way to go. But I can tell you, I fully intend to flip houses with my kids because I think it's fun. But you have to decide what's going to be your method or technique of having success in real estate. And there's a typo, but there's a literally almost infinite ways you could have success in real estate. So as an active investor, I think the most important thing that you can do is seek out mentorship. I did. I've had mentors come in many, many different forms in my life, but it doesn't matter how that mentorship comes. If what you have is money to invest in education, you might do a paid mentorship. If what you have is time and you're young, maybe you're going to find someone to organically be your mentor, or you're going to go the apprenticeship model and you're just going to go work for a syndication company or a builder or whatever it is. You just get out there and you start doing it, but you need to have someone to guide you. Otherwise, you're going to make a ton of mistakes and really have a much longer learning curve. The other thing about mentors is they already have the network. They already have people they can introduce you to that will help make that journey into real estate investing easier. And then you just keep moving forward. So it's cliche. I think a lot of cliches are cliches because they're true. But the reality is you just keep moving forward. You're going to hit hurdles. You're going to run into challenges. In real estate, you're going to have market ups and downs, but you just keep moving forward. You have to believe in the vehicle and make adjustments as to your strategy. So I'm going to get into a little bit about our business model and the way it's evolved. But where I'm at this point is how can I help? How can I make the most positive impact on the people around me? And that has driven all of my sort of business decisions over the last couple of years. So I wanted to go through this, evolution of our company and some of the reasons for where we're at now. So you have sort of a bigger picture and a real, I guess, transparent way. So I mentioned we started Lark Capital Group in 2020. I had been involved in real estate really since I was a teenager, but not at such on a large scale. I was did a lot of single family residential type stuff. At one point, I owned a 3-family in Boston. That's where I'm from originally. But it was just kind of all of that over time. And the rationale for me was I can make things better, for my family. We can buy my wife. My wife knows we don't buy houses that are already fixed up. We buy houses that are a investment for us. A lot of people say your primary residence is not an investment. Our primary residences are an investment and always will be. So if you treat it that way, it can be. So in 2020, we started Lark Capital Group. I would say the sort of founding principle of that time was aspiration. I started by learning books, podcasts. I did a paid mentorship. I did really kind of all the things. I dove in very, very deep. I took action. We started, as I mentioned, there are infinite ways to make money in real estate. When you're in syndication, it's not a fast way to make money in the sense that, like, if you're a house flipper, you hear about people flipping houses and they might do 3 or 4 the first year, then they might do 10 the next year. Then you hear about people that are flipping 50 to 100 houses a year, or wholesalers that are, going through hundreds of transactions in a year. In syndication, if you're a busy syndication company, you might do 4 deals a year. It like quarterly, you might do a deal. Some people have done more than that. In this current market, a lot of people haven't done a deal for over a year. And so it's a different cadence of action. And so you have to understand that. But you can ask anybody who knows me well, I'm not a patient person. And so while I was working through that piece of, getting to that first deal, and the first deal will always take you the longest because that's where you've got to sort of make your mark. But while I was working to that first deal, that first syndication deal, we invested capital with house flippers in a private lending capacity. We invested as joint partners in a self-storage deal. We did just a number of things to put capital to use. And I encourage people who are thinking about starting and they're not sure, do something. We also invested passively in my mentors in her syndication. So learning about all the different options from all different sides. So that time was learn, take action, and then scale. You may remember what the market was like in 2020 through 2021. It was kind of crazy. It was very, very transactional. People were making a ton of money. It felt good because we were in that sort of bull market where everybody thinks real estate's going to make money forever, and it keeps growing, and it's amazing, and all of this, and it is amazing. I 100% believe in it, but it got a little bit. It got crazy. It was very, very busy. I had a W-2 job as a surgeon. I had my real estate business, and I have a mobile surgery business on the side. By the end of 2021 and mid 2022, we had multiple assets and more under contract. And so I was just too busy. I left my W-2 job at the end of May in 2022. I don't know if y'all remember when they started increasing interest rates and didn't stop for the next, year and a half. But it was exactly when I left my W-2 job and the real estate industry came to a screeching halt. I also had, at that time, a deal under contract. And between the time we got it under contract and we were set to close, interest rates had gone up by, I believe, at least 2%. And also during that super hot market, it was the norm to leave a hard money deposit when you were purchasing these large multifamily assets. And hard money deposit means you don't get it back. If the contract, or if the deal goes out of contract, you don't get it back. So I had a deal under contract, fought tooth and nail to keep it under contract, to get it closed. But ultimately the rates kept going, and it no longer worked at the price that we had it under contract. And we tried to renegotiate. Ultimately, the seller said no, and I lost my hard money deposit. So I lost $500,000 in 2022. That was not fun. I am very thankful that was not investor money. That was basically myself and my partner's money, and any of the money we had made to that point in the first 2.5 years of Lark Capital Group. So big setback, but fortunately, I think this is the other piece of of mentorship, is I had good people around me to go to and help me kind of understand that this is a part of business. This is a part of growth. So I would say perhaps we tried to scale too fast, and then we had a failure related to that. In 2023, end of 2022 and into 2023, that was where I spent some time recovering, if you will. I still had assets to manage. It wasn't like I could just stop everything. And in fact, I had to ramp up my surgery business because we had to make some money. So I'll tie that in here in a minute, but ultimately it was a time to recover. When you lose money, the probably tendency is to go ahead and sort of shut everything down. What I actually did was hired a business coach. So I spent some money to get myself back on track and through that recovery period. I made sure that with this failure, it was going to be a learning experience. I was going to take every piece of it and make sure that I knew how to be better, how to do it right in the future, and how to not encounter these things again. There will be other setbacks. There will be other failures. There's no doubt, if you're trying to do big things, that's going to happen. But all you can do is learn from each and every one of them, and then grow. You'll see I sort of changed from scale to grow. Scale, I think, implies, it's a very objective metric, and you're numbers driven. I think growth is more personal. Certainly we want the business still to grow, growth of the team, and it's become very impact driven. How can we help other people? How can we give back? So just a shift in focus that came from a an experience that I just have to chalk it up as a learning experience and know that, moving forward, if you stop after a bad deal, then you've only experienced bad. You have to keep on going at that point. And so I think in a lot of cases, people will stop, but that's why I say you have to keep pushing forward. So if you are in real estate and syndication specifically, what you're going to hear about, and I heard all this at the beginning, the things that they will tell you, whether you're, if you get into one of the mentorships or on social media or stuff, the things that you're going to hear that matter are things like cap rates, terminology. You've got to know all the words. You've got to speak the lingo, or brokers won't take you seriously. All of this stuff I learned. People said that commercial real estate is not like residential real estate, because residential real estate, your values are dependent on your neighbors. There's the sale comps. And that's not the case in commercial real estate, because it's based on the income production, or the NOI, the net operating income of that asset. And that's true, except a cap rate is just a way to quantify what your neighbors are selling their houses for, or selling their assets for. And so you still have to get appraisals, and guess what? They run the comps in those appraisals. So you hear things that I think are a little bit misleading, but there's some things, excuse me, that I just now understand a little bit better how it works. You'll hear about acquisitions. Obviously, everybody who comes into real estate, especially in syndication, they want to get their first deal as an active investor. So you hear a lot about acquisitions and how to do that, and what's the right way to get through an acquisition. You hear about the underwriting. You hear about capital raising. These are all the pieces of the puzzle, and it seems very much about the money. What I learned over these last few years and going through that big setback is the things that actually matter. 100% the most important thing I think in a real estate deal is the debt structure. We learned that in 2008, 2009. We're learning that again here around this market. The lender is the biggest partner in any deal. And so the lender is likely to have 60 to, in a hot market, 80% of the equity in a deal. That means they have a pretty big influence on that deal. So you need to really understand how the debt is structured. You do not want to be, sort of stuck in a situation where you have to sell at the time you don't want to sell. There's a lot of pieces of that puzzle, but what I feel now is that is maybe the most important measurable piece of a syndication deal. I think the second most important part is partnerships. Who you partner with, how you structure that partnership, aligning yourselves with people that have similar values but complementary strengths. You don't want everybody in that partnership to do the same thing. 100% syndication is a team sport, but if everybody is playing the same position, you don't have a team, right? I'm a big sports fan. There's all kinds of sports analogies we could use here, but realistically, everybody can't be doing the same thing, and you have to define that and spell out the roles in advance. I think so many people, especially back a couple of years ago, we all were so excited about doing deals and getting into this and being a part of a deal, that it was just, okay, I'll partner with anyone just to get it done. And in some instances, that has worked out fabulously, and in some instances, it hasn't. And so you just need to be really careful about it over time. And those partnerships apply to your business partners. It also applies to the vendors, the brokers, the partnerships you might have with your lenders, any of that, your investors. All of that goes into what is, like I said, extreme team sport. And again, I've said teams a number of times. I also mean that as the team of people around you within your company. your family, your friends, the people that you associate it with. Um, Asset management. So kind of in that top part where it said people will say what, or you'll hear what matters. You have acquisitions, underwriting, capital raising. Those are like what gets focused on the most when you hear about syndication deals. But those all take about 2 or 3 months. All of that happens in a very short period of time. In general, we're holding these assets for 3, 5, 7, sometimes 10 years. And in order to genuinely achieve success in the business plan and genuinely achieve what you told your investors you were going to, you have to have really, really good asset management. You have to take care of this thing for a long time. And you're going to have things go wrong, and you're going to have trouble. You're going to have things that the picture over there, that's a fire. We had a fire in a unit. It's there are things that will come up that you have to deal with and come to grips with. Business means there is no business without problems. It means you just have to become a problem solver and approach things solution oriented and not always be, excuse the pun, but be putting out fires. um Things that matter. Money doesn't matter. Money's a vehicle to get your time. And so for me, this picture, that's my son. We you see, you maybe you can't right now see the background behind me. Big superhero fans in our family. My son's name is Logan after Wolverine. So one of my friends gave me a Lego set of you can see that it's the Wolverine's claws, and it said 18 plus. My son's 5. I humble brag, he's really smart, but I love that about him. But I thought, okay, we'll do this together. We'll see what happens. We'll try and put this together. And so I set up time, and I can do that because how I've now structured my life. But I've set up time, and we built that thing together, and it was a really, really meaningful experience for me. And that's what you look for when you're trying to establish the money that goes along with real estate investing, or whatever career path you choose. Impact, having impact on other people in whatever that means to you is incredibly important. The first, as I mentioned, I started Lark Capital in during the pandemic. The first live real estate conference that I went to was the Best Ever conference, Joe Fairless's conference. It's a phenomenal conference, but I will tell you the speeches that were my favorite of all, and his was one of them. They didn't talk about real estate investing. They talked about what real estate investing has done for them and in their ability to have an impact on whatever cause it is that they wanted to. And it was, I wish if you can get your hands on the recording of Joe Fairless's talk at that conference, it was really great. I mean, he talked about, where his success in real estate has led him to from an impact standpoint. And then your why. Your why is the thing that is going to get you through those hard times, and there will be hard times. My family, my kids, they don't. My wife probably cares a little bit. My kids do not care that I lost $500,000. They don't even know. Doesn't mean anything to them. My wife didn't leave me. That's pretty cool. She didn't leave me when that happens. I could imagine she probably didn't feel happy about it, but the reality is you have to have those pieces in place so when bad things happen, you've got, that strength to look on and carry you forward. And so I would encourage you all to, as I said, pick, do you want to be active or passive? What's your vehicle of real estate investing? And then what pushes you forward? What's your why that's going to get you through the hard times? So, spoiler alert, it does not get easier. Uh, I've heard this said by others, but bigger businesses, richer people, they don't have less problems. They have more problems. They just have more problem solving ability. So it's not gonna, it's never gonna get easier. You just figure out ways to keep going. And the best thing is if you approach it from a solution-based perspective, now you can start to get in front of things. That's what you need to take those challenges and use them as learning lessons and move forward in a solutions-based perspective. So the future of for me and our company, I want to help as many people as I possibly can, and until I just can't anymore. I don't. I hope that's a long way away, but that's I'm 49. I hope I have a lot of years, but I look at this as very, very much about the future, my future, my family's future, my investors' future, their family's future. I mean, it's very much about what happens kind of going forward. So with all that, we started in 2023. I said impact driven. We started the Lark Veterinary Impact Fund, and my idea here was I am going to create impact on 3 different levels. One is financial freedom. So you should never invest in something just because it has a charitable component. If you want to invest in charity, just invest in charity. That's great. And so I structured this fund specifically to take advantage of a couple things. One, of course, I'm a multifamily real estate investor, and I believe in that vehicle. I actually think right now is probably the best time to purchase these deals that we've had since 2009 and 2010. So we're looking at sort of headed on the upswing over the next few years. But I recognize the challenges we've faced right now, and the biggest challenge is cash flow. A lot of people in syndication deals, I don't know if any of you that are watching or listening to this are have been in any syndication deals. I would hazard to guess it's possible that your distributions are on pause right now. And that is true in some of my deals that I am invested in. It's also true in some of my own deals that I'm the sponsor for. So that has happened across markets. It's very, very common. So I took that piece of information, as I said, use this all as learning experience. I took that piece of information and I decided, what can I do to combat that cash flow issue? Because I still believe in the long term, real estate will appreciate in value, and we will still make our money on the sales of these assets. Well, when I hit a downturn in my personal life, I ramped up my business. And so I thought, what if I bought more businesses? And then I thought, okay, what if I did that for my investors? And I talked to my SEC attorney, because that's how syndications and funds are governed. They're actually governed by the SEC. And I said, can I put businesses in this fund alongside of the real estate, so that the small businesses that are high cash flow, easy to manage, their cash flow is layering on top of the real estate, and now we get the best of both worlds? Well, it turns out, yes, you can. There's a specific structure. I'm not going to get into all the deals or all the details, but you can do it. I also created a 10% preferred return, which, if you understand what that means, a preferred return means the investors get, in our case, 10% return annually on their money before I get to share in any of the profits. So this is a way, again, to keep investors front of mind, so I guess put investors first. The second pillar is awareness. Veterinarians, we are not historically business people. I went to school for what seems like forever. College is 4 years, vet school is 4 years. I trained an additional 4 years to become a surgeon. So I spent 10 years or 12 years learning how to do what I do as a veterinary surgeon, and I'm very good at it. I took 0 business classes in all that time. There's no time for it. But what I have done over the last 4 years is truly, to me, an additional residency in financial literacy and education. I've always been in real estate. I understand construction. It's the processes are not rocket science. It's not that hard to figure out the steps. But most veterinarians, and I would hazard to guess a lot of people out there in the world, don't even know that you can passively invest in real estate and do 0 of the work and still grow your money over time. Typically, we look at doubling your investment in a 5-year time frame. Like, that's a pretty standard rate of return in a syndication and fund, which is I think quite good. I also wanted to raise awareness amongst non-veterinarians to the struggles that veterinarians face. As I mentioned, uh, veterinarians have one of the highest suicide rates of all professions. I think sadly we fight it out with dentists maybe as far as for that top spot. It's a not a good fight to be in, not a contest you want to win. But a lot of people don't know that. They think we play with puppies and kittens all day. I don't want to get into why that is, but because that is the case, there is this organization, Not One More Vet, that has been created to help combat some of these struggles in the veterinary industry. So when I created this fund, it had to mean something. In this particular fund, we will be donating 25% of the profits to Not One More Vet. This is after investors get paid out. So this doesn't affect investor returns at all. This is just from Lark Capital Group, just to give back to where I came from. And we hope to, it's not the only cause that I'm passionate about, or that the people on my team are passionate about. So we hope to do future funds, more of this, and pick other causes each time. But our fund will, our fund and our future funds will always be impact driven from this point forward. So the how, just kind of wrapping things up here, the how for me is fund management and syndication. That is my real estate vehicle for creating financial freedom for myself, my family, my investors, the people around me. My team, I hire for culture alone. That is the most important piece of the puzzle. We need to have people that are a good fit and have a shared vision. I also, I have realized that going forward, I will work only with in terms of partnerships and vendors and things like that. I will work with the people I want to work with, and that's it. I'm not going to do deals just to do deals. So I'm gonna structure this in a way that I will never compromise, sort of what I feel is best for my investors. I now have a ton more knowledge and experience in the syndication and fund management realm. It's been a ride, not fun at times, but if I take every piece of that and learn, then it will carry me going forward. Mindset's the one of the biggest hurdles to overcome. I can tell you, what I thought about when I was first looking at these big deals and the numbers of zeros. It was extremely daunting for me. I used to think, $100 was a lot of money. Then I thought $1,000 was a lot of money. Then I thought $10,000 was a lot of money. Once you get into this field, you start to think about, you see tax bills, you see the income that can come in from a large multifamily asset, and you really start to look at it from a different perspective. The mindset around it is that you have to believe that it's possible to still achieve at those levels. And I think the way that you can achieve that is through mentorship. And so for me, what that means, I continue to have mentors in my life. I continue to seek out more, but I also have the goal of starting to mentor others in the space. And so I think, again, helping as many people as I can. The why, my background, I didn't talk about this too much. I told you I started in real estate and construction when I was very young. Well, the reason I did that is we grew up pretty poor, the child of a single mom, love her to death. But she just still doesn't have a lot of money. And so my why, probably before I even knew that having a why was a thing, was to escape or recreate my life from that life of I hate to use the word poverty, because certainly there were people in worse situations than us, but the to recreate a life that for my family, for my mom, quite frankly, to be able to take care of her when she needs taking care of, and then sort of take care of other people. I want impact. I want to have the ability to have an impact on others and their lives and their financial freedom, whether that's through education, through investment vehicle, or mentorship. and LAR Capital, it's actually an acronym. So it's Logan, Ava, Reed, and Casey. Logan and Ava are my children. Reed is my best friend and business partner, and Casey's my wife. So none of this is about me. This is about the people around me, and so that's my why. That's what pushes me forward when things don't go well, and that's what will continue to push me forward. So I think it's important to share that with people, and you can find your own why. I didn't come this far to only come this far, so we've still got further to go. Certainly nowhere near being done with this journey. We've got a lot to do. Um, I'm curious if anybody knows who said this, but I mentioned to you I am from Boston. This is a Tom Brady quote. Huge hero of mine, and I think this is something that always resonates with me. That we don't quit because there's still more work to do. So thank you so much for being here tonight. I'd love to take some questions. You can reach me really anyway. My phone number's here. Email me directly. I'm on social media. Check out our website. Whatever is your easiest way. And I would love to connect with any of you. I know this is the Orange County Real Estate Association. I'm in LA. So if you want to get together for lunch or coffee or something like that, I am here.
That's awesome. It's kind of the all over real estate investor association now that we're on Zoom.
Right, exactly. Yeah, anybody can be from all around.
Here's another sports metaphor. You knocked it out of the park. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just love how, just methodically you went through each and every point. I think not leaving really anything to just wonder, like, how did you do it? Except the details. So if you guys have questions, let's ask Jason. And I think there's one question right here. Someone says, or Santosh says, I'm planning to do the real estate exam. Is there anything you could help me with? Well, I don't know. Do you have a real estate license? Did you do that?
No, I actually don't. And I've heard that question asked a lot. You don't, depending on what you want to do in real estate, you might need a real estate license. If you want to sell, if you want to be a broker. At one point I thought I was going to. I think actually in a closet somewhere I have the book for taking the real estate exam. I never went that route because I realized I didn't need it. However, I will say, without getting too much into these tax implications, real estate professionals can actually have a tremendous benefit from passive investing and being able to use some of those losses against their earned income. So something to keep in mind if you do become a real estate broker.
And I'll just a little bit about me. I've had 3 real estate licenses, in Washington State, Texas, and California throughout the years. And what that did, just getting the real estate license, taught me so much about assets, and real estate assets, and what it is and how you use it. So it's always great to have more information. I think that you're a big proponent of that, Jason, from what you've said. Knowledge is a great thing. So there we go. So does anyone else have a question for this evening?
Looks like
wait. Yeah.
Got a hand raised here.
Oh, hi. Okay. Jesus, do you want to go?
Hi. Yes. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Jesus. Nice to have you. Thank you.
So I like you saying you're a very likable guy. I read you as very honest and genuine. So thank you for that. So I'm new. I don't know what I don't know what I'm talking about. Just curious. But first, your podcast. Where can I hear your podcast?
You on any of the podcast platforms, whatever you use. It's on Apple and Spotify. It's called Know Your Why. I think it's technically the Know Your Why Real Estate Podcast. But yeah, if you just search in Apple Podcasts, it's Know Your Why.
Okay, great. The second thing is that this seminar that you went to, that you wish it was recorded for you, if you ever get your hands on that, that's very interesting.
Yeah, and for anyone who's thinking about going to a one of the bigger real estate conferences, the best ever conference is really great. And Joe Fairless has he's kind of written the syndication Bible, if you will. It's really if you're interested in learning the nuts and bolts of syndication, it's a very good read. And he's got a podcast. It is, to my understanding, the longest running daily podcast maybe in any genre, but definitely within real estate.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And can you say the name one more time?
Best ever. So his whole branded thing, I might even have it behind me.
Yeah, his conference is coming up here pretty soon in the next couple of months.
It's in Salt Lake City, I believe, and it is coming up very, very soon. Unfortunately, I think I have it inside somewhere, but yeah, it's he's easy to find too. I mean, you could Google best ever conference and you'll find everything, but I believe it's in Salt Lake City and it's maybe next month.
Yeah, I think it's coming up here. I'll pull it up and I'll find it, put it on put the link. Here we go. It's Salt Lake City. That's right. April 9th through the 12th. So here's a link to that if you like. Another great organization is Bigger Pockets when you're wanting to learn a lot about real estate, especially as a beginner. They have so many, I mean, really every level, but especially for beginners, they have so much information and a great forum to Q&A kind of. So that's another great resource.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was, I mean, podcasts and books was how I kind of, when I started to dig into syndication, that's what I used at first. It was, listening to the Bigger Pockets podcast. And then I'd hear about a topic that was interesting me, and then I would sort of go down that rabbit hole with books or other podcasts and just kind of figure out what made most sense for me.
Yeah, great resources.
All right, thank you. And then the last one would be, why do you say that multifamily real estate investing right now is the best time? I have heard something about that a big lot of apartment buildings or actually anything commercial is coming due. Yeah. Oh, sorry for that. And that is that true?
Yes and no. I mean, it is true that there are some loans coming true. So I think it gets maybe overstated in the media somewhat, but basically what they're talking about is in 2020, 2021, early 2022, a lot of the those syndication deals were bought on short-term and in some cases floating rate debt. And so if you underwrote something at, I mean, the interest rates were in like the 3s or below. So if you underwrote something at 3% and then it went up to 8%, which happened, that's a real scenario. That's not hypothetical. That happened to people. It changes everything about that deal. And so most of the time, the lender forced people to put what's called a rate cap on there. And the rate cap says it can only go up, X percentage points. And then essentially an insurance policy kicks in and that insurance policy pays the difference. So there were some measures in place, but some people actually got them without rate caps. We have a floating rate loan on one of our deals, and we weren't given any option to not have a rate cap. I'm glad we have it. The rate cap has actually paid for itself by quite a bit over these year and a half. So what they're talking about though is a lot of those loans are coming to maturity because they were 2 years or 3 years. They were put on what's called bridge debt, and the idea of bridge debt is you buy a kind of unstabilized asset. I won't get into what stabilized versus unstable, but then the idea is you're supposed to get it to a point where it's stabilized and you can take it out to a different type of loan that is meant to be more long-term. So most of the time that's referred to as agency debt. It's like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. It's the government backed loans. There are other versions, but again, that's what people think of most commonly. So the news cycle is all these loans are coming due and everybody's going to have to give back their properties. And so now they're all going to be half price. But that's not what's happening, because a lot of people are getting those things stabilized, or they are extending with their current lender. And so we're not seeing it. The other thing is being able to take advantage of an extremely distressed deal is actually a lot harder than it sounds. You think, oh, it's going to be super cheap, but you still have to, unless you can buy it cash, unless you have enough investors to buy it cash, you still have to put debt on that, which is going to be really, really expensive bridge debt. And they're currently There are not a lot of people lending that. We had back in 2021, I think I heard that 80% of all the loans were done as bridge debt. And probably, in my estimation, at least half of those bridge debt lenders are gone. They just closed up shop. So if not more than that. And so you can't actually take advantage of it unless you've got a huge investor base or you're getting it like at an extreme discount. But like I said, a lot of people are holding on, and we expect interest rates to start coming back down this year and then continue to come down in 2025. So the landscape should be very, very different in 2025. There's a lot of people, they call it dry powder. There's a lot of people with like capital sitting on the sidelines. And so what happens is once the transaction or once the deal flow begins to pick up again, I think you're going to see a lot of more money pour back into the market, and then the prices are going to go back up again. So if you're buying now versus 2 years from now, I do not have a crystal ball, but I would almost guarantee prices will be higher in 2 years from now than they are now.
I keep
Okay.
hearing the same thing all over the place. I mean, every podcast. Yeah.
And I'm not I'm not the one who is just the one who's making this up on my own. This is what, if you read the financial data, this is what is being talked about. And so you've just got a lot of people that saw so much volatility that they just held back. But the reality is, like, people that are sophisticated and knowledgeable investors in these like family offices, high net worth individuals, they want their money invested. And so as soon as they think it's a little bit safer, they're going to jump back in. So it's kind of like this is going to be the best time. It's like, but people didn't know that 2009 and 2010 were going to be the best time to buy real estate for over a decade when it was 2009, 2010. So, and the people that figured it out made a ton of money. So it's just kind of like you just keep moving. My biggest fear for investors is people that invested in the last few years, maybe their distribution stopped, maybe they even lost money on a deal, and then they just stopped. But that means you only got to experience the bad side of investing, but you have to look at it as this like a global equation.
All right. Thank you so much, Jason. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for the questions.
I'll tell you that in the self-directed IRA space, we see a lot of self-directed accounts invested in syndications, multifamily and other kinds, where there are capital calls. And so they're needing to come up with the cash for the capital calls to extend the rate or whatever, whatever the expenses are needed. So it's when you're in the self-directed IRA world, investing in things like this, it's always good to leave a pad of idle cash so that you can meet these kinds of unexpected things. Something we haven't seen in a very long time is capital calls. So. Right.
Yeah, it's definitely been a challenging market. I think the beauty of the SDIRAs is some people worry about the time frame, the hold times of real estate, especially in a syndication. But with an IRA, you're already looking at a long hold time. So that's the perfect opportunity to take advantage of things like syndication, because you weren't getting that cash back until you're 65 or whatever the rules are. Like, you're not getting that back soon regardless. So you might as well take advantage of those longer, more advantageous investment vehicles within there.
That's true. Well, Jason, why don't you once again tell us how we can get a hold of you? I put the link to your podcast in the chat. So anybody who'd like to see that, just click on the link and you can hear all of the really amazing interviews that Jason's done. But how do we get a hold of you?
Yeah, the best way probably is just to email me directly. It's jason@larkcapital.com. Our website is larkcapital.com. Everything's on there. Email, phone number, our fund is on there. If you have questions or interest in that, it's all pretty well spelled out there. So I'd love to get the chance to just chat with people and see where you're at and help in any way I can.
That's awesome. Hey, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. And everybody who joined us this evening, you can always tell that the people that come onto a podcast or a real estate investment club after work, those are the 1%ers, those are the people who really want to learn. So I'm just so grateful that everyone joined us tonight. And especially to you, Jason, for sharing all your wisdom. Thanks so much. And by the way, we'll see you next month, second Thursday of every month, 5 o'clock Pacific, meeting on Zoom so that we can get more of us together. And so that Jason didn't have to travel today. And he's got more money to contribute there to his charity. So Thanks again, everybody. Have a great night. See you next month.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Ballara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?